All right, so this YouTube channel is basically just turning into my own personal vlog, making little motivational videos for myself. Maybe they'll help someone else someday, but for now, this is for me. I'm just gonna organize some thoughts, gonna express myself, get vulnerable, whatever. So I've had a pretty rough week. Um, But I'm grateful because this week introduced me to not introduced me, but sort of re-emphasized some things in my life. And that's kind of, I'm going to go in a very different direction now with my focus on my healing. I've spent years and years and years obsessing over the human body. I've studied nutrition, I've studied sleep, I've studied meditation, I've studied biomechanics and movement, and I've gotten massage and chiropractics and detox and water fasting, and I've done all these things. And at times I've touched on the mind and the heart, and I do things like gratitude journaling, and I do things like affirmations and meditation. But it's become clear that the primary cause or the primary factor in my pain has to do with the mind body connection. Some people talk about how the body is the subconscious mind and how traumas are stored in the body, memories are stored in the body. I was first introduced to this concept when I was at True North fasting. The doctor there recommended a book by Dr. Sarno. Dr. Sarno, I believe, is a psychiatrist who lives in New York. He got pretty popular in the 90s as part of this mind-body healing to eliminate chronic pain. He's been endorsed by some celebrities. He's a pretty well-known name. And I've kind of kept that information in the back of my mind for a long time. But I've never really delved into it. I've never really made it my focus. Probably because I don't want to look at my shit. I don't want to look at the skeletons in my closet. I don't want to open up my brain and see how fucked up it is in there. But the body is the subconscious mind. I've experienced this over and over now. When I went to Vipassana, so part of Vipassana, essentially what you're doing with Vipassana is you're moving your awareness through your body. And by moving your awareness through your body, you essentially discover the memories stored there. You discover the traumas stored there, and they come up and sort of detox in this interesting way. And so my experience at Vipassana was one of the most powerful healing experiences of my life. 10 days sitting on the floor, moving my awareness through my body did more to heal my physical body than 20 days of water fasting, than 4 years of raw food, than 2 years of biomechanical studies, and just moving my awareness through my body did more than any of that. 6 months later, I'm finally getting the message. It's okay. This is where my focus has to be. I'm gonna just focus on this. Like 80+% of my health practice is just gonna become about this, and I'm really sort of intimidated by it because I really have been avoiding it because way more than the physical pain is the emotional pain. The emotional pain hurts so much more, and I think that's normal. I think that's normal. I think it's normal for us to run away from the emotional and the mental. And what Dr. Sarno says in his books, he actually says that pain in the body is literally the subconscious defending itself from itself. It's a self-preservation method. It's been a while since I've read any of his books, but if I remember the gist correctly, it's basically if you have an emotional trauma, in order to protect you from that emotional trauma, your subconscious will create a physical symptom in the body to distract your conscious mind. So if my knees are hurting all the time or my back's hurting all the time, well, my mind's going to be focused on that. It's not going to be focused on the fact that I feel inadequate and don't love myself, right? Looking at the fact that I feel inadequate and don't love myself is a pretty significant thing. It's very painful, and some part of my mind at some point in my life learned that this was bad and I need to avoid it. and then created these physical pains in order to distract myself from it. I'm not sure if I like that interpretation totally. It's one of the reasons I didn't continue with Dr. Sarno's work. That sort of, for some reason, that explanation just never really jived with me. But there's so many other ways of looking at it. There's so many people working with the mind-body connection. Some programs I'm considering exploring. Is there something called process coaching, where process coaching is this method of self-therapy where you observe sensations in the body, you find undesired sensations, and you ask yourself a series of questions and use a series of techniques to discover what emotions are stored in that sensation and release those emotions, release that emotional tension, and experience a relief of the symptoms, a relief of the sensation in the body. And I've tried this out a couple times. I have a friend who is a process coaching, certified process coach. I don't know if that's what they're called. But she's very knowledgeable on the subject, and I might reach out to her and get some help from her. There's also something called internal family systems therapy, which is basically this system to cultivate self-love by getting to know all the different parts of your consciousness and learning to show compassion towards them, and coming to understand that no part of yourself is against you. Right? We carry around a lot of conflicts in our head and in our hearts and in our bodies, a lot of conflicts within ourselves. It really does feel like there's a war inside myself sometimes. And what internal family systems therapy does is, as far as I can tell, it uses journaling practices and these sorts of things to help alleviate some of that conflict and to help you show love to yourself. And I have a friend who specializes in that. I've been working with him off and on for a little while now. I'm probably going to focus on that more. There's also the entire field of bioenergetics. I'm very inspired by Elliot Hulse and some of the work he's posted online about bioenergetics. But that seems like a huge realm of study that I really don't even know where to start. I could start reading some books by Wilhelm Reich or Alexander Lowen or whoever. I don't know. And then there's also meditation. I could dive into meditation. I could do more Vipassana. There's something called heart breath meditation that I'm interested in exploring. Journaling, various journaling exercises. I have this breathing program that I've yet to really give its full attention, called the optimal breathing method, optimal breathing, something like that. And I've experienced some interesting stuff with those exercises that really is a very interesting component to the mind-body connection. Like the breath seems to be the doorway between our conscious mind and our subconscious existence. And we can use the breath to become more in touch with our bodies and to release the tension in our bodies and thus release the tension in our minds and our hearts. So I might explore that kind of stuff more. I'm not entirely sure, but I think the mind-body connection is going to become a huge part of what I'm doing. And if you have any recommendations for books, resources, therapy, techniques, whatever, especially stuff that doesn't cost much money. I was looking into like psychologists or psychiatrists that specialize in these things this morning, and that shit's crazy, dude. It's like $100 for an hour, and then of course 1 hour is never enough, right? You need to keep coming week after week after week. That's absurd. We need to come up with some ways that help people help themselves. All right, people can't be dependent on these uber rich therapies that are only accessible to the elite and the people who have tons of money and resources. We need therapies that are accessible to everyone. And that's one of the things that really inspires me about process coaching and sort of meditation and these kinds of things, is they're available to the individual with relatively little financial commitment. This is my view from my kitchen. I've been saying recently that the hardest part about being depressed is that I see the beauty in the world. I see the beauty in the world all around me. and I just feel unable to participate, unable to step into it. And when I see this incredible, beautiful view that I have from my kitchen window, and I feel depressed, it just makes me feel even more depressed sometimes. Because then I'm just like, what the hell's wrong with me? You got this beautiful view. Your life is so abundant. Why aren't you happy? Why isn't everything wonderful? And, you know, I've been trying to cultivate some trust and some faith in the universe and God. And I think I was brought to this place where I am in my life. I was brought to this physical location. Just dominoes fell and one thing after another. And now I'm here, this incredible space where I have the time and the space to really heal. There's a part of me that's very anxious and nervous that I'm going to lose that opportunity. So I want to take advantage of it as soon as possible. Really fully experience the benefits of this current living situation so that I can grow. I keep getting a shadow from the camera. But it's just, I'm reminded externally all the time how beautiful and abundant the world is. And I want to work on cultivating that beauty and abundance within myself so that I can live in that world and experience that beauty firsthand as much as I can. And chances are that many of my physical ailments will go away when I learn to do that. When that disconnect from the beauty out there and the pain in here, when that goes away, when that disconnect is no longer in conflict and those things are in alignment, then maybe I'll finally stop being in pain. I know there's a big community online dealing with chronic pain stuff, fibromyalgia, whatever. If you're in that group, please subscribe. Please send me your channel. I'd love to find some other people going through this same process. Maybe we can help each other and encourage one another. All right, thanks.